Hello everyone and welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. This week, with hundreds of Nigerians returning on evacuation flights from around the world, we'll be looking at the process in one of the countries with the most frequent number of evacuations, the United States. We'll be discussing with the Nigerian Consul General to New York, Ambassador Ben Okoye. Plus, the US and China engage in tit-for-tat diplomacy as each shuts consulates in both countries. Let's begin with a quick check on other discussions in diplomatic circles. The European Union delegation and the United Nations have handed over the second consignment of over 270 cubic meters of medical supplies to the government of Nigeria. The second consignment, which is part of the $22 million procurement of essential medical supplies for the COVID-19 response, approved by the EU and endorsed by the Nigeria One UN COVID-19 Basket Fund Board, arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja on July 26, 2020. The shipment consists of thousands of PPEs and hundreds of other medical supplies that will aid the provision of adequate health care for those affected by the virus. A dispute between Moscow and Minsk over the detention of more than 30 men who Belarus accused of being Russian mercenaries deepened on Saturday as the two sides contradicted each other about the group's plans. The arrests last week, shortly before August 9 presidential election in Belarus, could further strain relations between Minsk and its traditional ally Russia, which soured after the neighbors failed to agree on an oil supply contract for this year. Russia says the men, it describes as employees of a private security firm, had stayed in Belarus after missing their connecting flights to Istanbul. Finally, Russia's ambassador to the UK has bemoaned the deterioration of relations between China and the UK, saying it is surprising that the UK is turning around towards China. China says relations between the two have deteriorated after the UK once again interfered in Hong Kong affairs. Diplomatic tensions between the United States and China heightened in the past week when the US had to shut its consulate in the city of Chengdu following the expiration of a 72-hour ultimatum given by China. China ordered the closure in response to the US closing the Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas the week before.
China's relation with the United States have been topsy-turvy since the Trump administration came on board, heightening the even more complex relations between the two largest global economies since after the 80s. President Trump has labeled China a strategic competitor and launched a trade war against China, banned U.S. economies from selling equipment to Huawei and other companies linked to human rights abuses in Xinjiang, increased visa restrictions on Chinese nationality students and scholars, and designated China as a currency manipulator. Relations have even worsened over the Chinese government's decision to authorize a Hong Kong national security law a few weeks ago, coupled with the U.S. president referring to the coronavirus as the China virus, blaming China for not warning the rest of the world before the disease became a pandemic. Trump's anger spread to the World Health Organization, which he accused of covering up for China. China continually denies U.S. accusations and accuses the U.S. of interfering in its domestic politics and policies, warning the U.S. severally to stay out of China's domestic affairs. With the rhetoric going back and forth, the U.S. 2 weeks ago, in a surprise move, told China to close its consulate. The State Department said the move was made to protect American intellectual property and the private information of Americans. During a news conference in Copenhagen, Denmark, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said China posed a threat to freedom everywhere.
We talked about this. It's not just American intellectual property, but stolen. It's been European intellectual property too, costing hundreds of thousands of jobs, good jobs for hardworking people all across Europe and America, stolen by the Chinese Communist Party.
China denied this, saying its embassy and consulates in the United States have always been law-abiding, and allegations of China's consulate general in Houston are totally malicious slanders. The foreign ministry refuted Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and other U.S. officials who accused the Chinese consulate general in Houston of interference in U.S. internal affairs, theft of U.S. intellectual property, and commercial espionage. By Friday, July 24th, Chinese officials emptied out of the consulate in Houston, but China was not done. In a retaliatory move, China ordered the U.S. to close the consulate in Gyeongju, a city in southwestern China's Sichuan province. About 100 Chinese activists gathered at the consulate, shouting slogans denouncing communism and heckling consulate staff. Protesters cheered when a tractor-trailer circled the building with giant signs that read, "Freedom from Communism" and "God Bless America." By the last weekend in July, 2 removal vans were seen entering the U.S. consulate in Chengdu as staff inside prepared to leave, a day after China ordered it to close. The consulate opened in 1985 and has almost 200 employees, including about 150 locally hired staff according to its website. By Monday, July 27th, Chinese authorities took over the premises of the consulate. China says the closure of the Chengdu consulate and takeover of premises were just and necessary reactions. Residents in Chengdu said they felt sad seeing the current spat between China and the U.S., saying it has had an impact on some actual interest of ordinary Chinese citizens. China took a jab at the United States later in the week, with the foreign ministry publishing an article on its official website titled "Reality Check of U.S. Unilateral Demand for China to Consulate General in Houston" to expose from 10 aspects the lies and fallacies made by the United States. It highlighted 5 instances the U.S. made false claims against China, counteracting those accusations with its own facts on the matter. A few days later, China calls on the United States to return to the right track. In an article on the Politico website, the Chinese ambassador to the United States, Cui Tiankai, calls on both sides to reset their relationship. It says China and Houston have enjoyed strong economic cooperation and that China is the region's second largest trading partner, with bilateral trade in 2018 reaching $125.1 billion US. The article says China remains unchanged in its U.S. policy and is still willing to develop the bilateral relations based on goodwill and sincerity.
And now to our focus today. More than 6,000 Nigerians stranded abroad have been evacuated and returned to Nigeria amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, spending hundreds of thousands of naira to make the trip back. They've been following the COVID-19 protocol by getting tested before their flights, using hand sanitizers and face masks on the plane, and going into self-isolation or quarantine upon their arrival in Nigeria. These evacuation flights in some instances are known on a week-by-week basis, and in some instances given enough notice before the evacuations. Amidst concerns from people trying to get on the flights as Nigeria gets ready for reopening its international airspace, we speak to the Consul General of one of the countries with one of the highest number of evacuation flights, the United States. We have joining us Nigeria's Consul General to the United States, Honorable Ben Okoye. He joins us now from New York. Honorable Consul General, thank you for joining us on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you very much for having me on this platform.
And I hope you're keeping well, considering the high number of people who have contracted the coronavirus in the United States.
We are doing our best to ensure that we are safe, not just only us, Nigerians, to keep talking to them, and the need to obey the regulations put by the local authorities.
Okay, so the highest number of evacuations that have taken place for Nigerians abroad has been from where you are, the United States, New Jersey, the airport in New York. You've been in charge of coordinating these large numbers so that as many people as possible are being evacuated. How has that been? Tell us your experience.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yes, this has been a trying time for everyone, particularly for those of us who are outside that need to take care of our citizens who are stranded. Based on the directive of Mr. President to evacuate as many Nigerians as possible that are stranded, we in New York have been actually coordinating the evacuation exercises in the United States of America. So far, it's been very taxing, enormous task, and it's something that is worth doing for our citizens. And what we have experienced so far is the cooperation from Nigerians obeying the guidelines and the regulations for us to take on this exercise. It's been very smooth. It's been easy with the cooperation of Nigerian community. So far, we have undertaken three evacuations, one to Abuja on the 9th of May. Then we have also done another one to Lagos on the 3rd of July. We conducted another evacuation to Abuja on 17th. In all, we have done so far 806 Nigerians who were stranded in the United States of America, to Nigeria. So far, it's been challenging and it's been good.
Can you explain to us the process of the evacuation from the time people, signify interest that they want to return to the country up until the time when they do board the aircraft and are flown all the way down home?
Well, yes, like you said, registration is the first process. We expect that every Nigerian who want to be evacuated need to indicate that interest, and that requires the Nigerians to register with any of our missions. It could be New York, it could be Atlanta, it could be Washington, D.C. So the missions are working together in all of these, and we'll compile the names and to see if the numbers are that high and is enough for us to arrange for a flight. Once that is ascertained, we'll arrange for a flight and seek clearance from Nigeria. And once that is done, we'll put up a public notice informing the prospective evacuees about the details of the flight and the payment modalities. And all prospective evacuees are expected to pay for their tickets directly with the airlines. And after that, they need to forward, a copy of the ticket and other personal details in terms of their phone numbers, in terms of their email addresses and the addresses they intend to stay in Nigeria and the next of kin. Once that is done, we also expect them, based on the guidelines from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, for them to go for COVID tests.
Yeah, I want to stay with the test just for a bit, and I want to know if, there are specific hospitals where Nigerians can go to get the test done, or they're allowed to go to any of the facilities in order to get this test, or are they being done at the consulate? And does the consulate provide information on where they can go to get the test done?
Well, COVID-19 test is a criterion for them to be on board this evacuation flight. But the consulate or the missions don't have any role to play in this. It's entirely the evacuees' choice to go where they want to do this test. But in case where maybe anyone wants our assistance in terms of maybe making a recommendation for them, particularly some Nigerian doctors who have been very helpful in this period, we made few cases of recommendation to people to go those places where they have challenges and where to go.
Are they also paying for the tests themselves?
Well, that depends on where the evacuee chooses to go. In terms of places where government has provided, I think they are free. There are other places where people also have to pay for their tests. It depends on how fast you want it. So it all depends.
Our conversation with the Honorable Consul General continues after the break. And in the US, over 3 million people have contracted the coronavirus. Are there Nigerians who are among this number? Do you have a rough idea how many may have come down with COVID-19?
Yes, so some Nigerians are also infected with the coronavirus, and there are few cases that have been reported to us in the consulate and in our missions. And we also do know that there are so many other cases that we may not be aware of. So, yes, Nigerians are also affected in this COVID-19 within this period.
But you don't know the number of people. You can't hazard a guess on the number of people who may have contracted the coronavirus while in the United States.
Yeah, but no, that figure is not readily available. Like I mentioned, some may choose to report to us, some others may not report. We have also reported those ones that have made available to us. So we have no data at the moment to know the number of Nigerians who are affected.
Just wondering if the consulate does provide any assistance in the event that someone does report to the consulate that they have contracted the coronavirus. Is there any assistance that is given to these ones, maybe in the form of health insurance or providing some emotional or social support?
Yeah, we do. That's why we're here. A few cases where, some of them are travelers, they just come and got stranded, have these issues. We link them to some of our doctors, like I mentioned, our Nigerian doctors who have been working closely with us, who have been very helpful, particularly making prescriptions and advising them on how best to manage the situation. And a lot of them get those kind of assistance. Some, don't have food. Some are actually stranded. We'll also have to look for a way of assisting them, ensure that they are comfortable, they feel belong. As a country, their country is concerned and willing to assist them at this point in time. So those emotional support has been given when we are aware of the situation.
And many Nigerians do come to the embassy and the consulate, of course, for passport renewals. That's something that has been mentioned a few times over the years, how difficult it is obtaining a Nigerian passport and how difficult it is trying to renew a Nigerian passport. Has the process become a lot easier now?
Yeah, indeed, it has become easier now, more so since the missions are now working together, sharing information and looking for the best way to assist Nigeria in this regard. In the past, it wasn't so easy, and more so for the applicants to also understand the processes and for them to also have access to the mission. We have opened our doors since my arrival, to Nigerians, and it's becoming so easy. So many can attest to this. And because Nigerians are so many and so many people who want the service at the same time, some may not get it at the time they want it. So there may be a few complaints here and there, but generally, the processes have become simplified. You just need to get appointment and do your payments and come to the consulate and wait for when it will come out. And where they have few technical issues to be explained to them, they will be asked to be patient and wait for when we could get the issues resolved.
And was there any intervention from the consulates when the U.S. government announced that change in a visa policy against foreign students studying in American universities, facing the possibility of deportation? Although that has been rescinded, but was the consulate involved, with Nigerian students who are there in the United States who might have been affected by this policy had it continued?
Well, unfortunately, that news was coming at this time of the coronavirus. So, I'm sure that there was a lot of panic and anxiety in the heart of a lot of parents who have left their children there for school. Some were calling on how they can return and all of that. So, but luckily, the the government still reason to rescind the decision, and so far, I think no Nigerian need to, you know, leave the United States of America on the account of what was announced earlier as that policy. So we 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 are on ground in terms of issues like that. We advise that they need to call the consulate and the embassy, in the United States of America for assistance, even to register their presence. In that way, we know what is going on with them.
I have just one final question, Honorable Consul General, and thank you for your patience. Alleged fraudster Hush Puppy was extradited to the United States from the United Arab Emirates. Is the consulate or the Nigerian embassy concerned about this, seeing that if it was the other way around, for example, if this was an American citizen, no government will be extraditing a citizen like this?
Well, Nigeria government is supportive of fight against crime anywhere in the world, and equally expect all Nigerians in diaspora to be of good ambassadors to their country, Nigeria. We are concerned when few cases of crime are reported in the pages of newspaper, and people tend to define that as use that to define Nigeria. That is a very wrong thing to do. As far as Nigeria is concerned, Nigeria is made up of over 200 million people, and the percentage of those reported to have one crime or the other is far insignificant compared to those who are doing good things to promote a great country. So it is important for us to be concerned, because people are defining us in a very wrong way, and Nigerians are very good people, resilient, particularly in the United States of America. There's a lot that is being done by Nigerians. And the Friday flight that I told you about on the 17th of July, when we were there, the medical team that takes care of the processes for us to ensure that people are COVID-19 free and all of that, the temperature checks, is Nigerian doctors. We don't pay any cover for it. Community service, they come there and do all of that. So if so many people are doing that on notice, but the negative news will sell, but people will not notice all these good things they are doing. Dr. Philip Ozoa, the president and the CEO of Montefiore Medical Group, one of the biggest medical groups in the United States of America, he's a Nigerian. He's the president. He's a CEO, doing very well. He was in the airport to lend his support to what we were doing. He came there to bid farewell to Nigerians who were evacuated. These are people we are proud of. We have people like Dr. Adebayo Ogunlesi, the man who bought Gatwick Airport in the United Kingdom. Is very big in aviation industry. Is respected in this place. There are so many of like minds of this category here in the United States of America. So Nigeria is not defined by few persons who commit one crime or the other. Nigeria is playing big in the United States of America. Nigerians are in the forefront fighting coronavirus. A lot is happening that we need to be proud of. I'm really proud of Nigerians.
And we are proud of you, Honorable Consul General Ben Okoye. Thank you again for spending time chatting with us on Diplomatic Channel and sharing your thoughts on these issues, clearing up some of them, and also for representing Nigeria. We do wish you well in your tour of the United States.
Thank you very much, Marichi. Thank you for having me.
Just a reminder here that the Nigerian High Commission in the UK has announced the closure of Air Peace evacuation flights from the UK scheduled for August 8th. And that'll be all on the program today. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Thanks for watching.